Good evening, everyone. What's going on? Hey, little bit late here on the show. I had to hit the gym a little bit, and part of it is I was really thinking about this topic. Like, there's so much to say. Like, how do I want to approach this? Definitely something I had to really think about. And I've got the chat live here. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook right now. I also had to hang out with my daughter and stuff and talk to my wife. But I really wanted to think about this topic. And I'm going to try to keep this as general as I can. I don't want to focus on any specific situation or anything like that. I want to keep it as general, but also sort of, create enough scenarios that would sort of make sense to some people, right? Okay. So getting paid what you're worth, right? This is my opinion. First of all, everything I'm saying is all my opinion, only knowledge, facts, not casting spurs, and all for entertainment purposes only. Please check all the disclaimers. I'm not giving you any advice. Everything you do is at your own risk in life. Okay. We've all been in different situations. Well, like if you've worked long enough, particularly for other companies or stuff, I think I've seen different situations in my careers. I think a lot of other people have seen different situations, and sometimes you feel like maybe you're put in a bad spot, right? Or you have tough choices to make. Or you feel like maybe you're not getting all the money you're worth, or better. It could be different things. What do you do, right? And that's a whole long discussion and lane right there. But a lot of entrepreneurs talk about this. A lot of people have skills, and we see this a lot of talk around the entrepreneurial, community, right? About like, oh, I'm good at X, Y, and Z, but how do I charge that? I think one of my contacts, who's an artist, I think when one of her posts talked about how she made the transition from other work into being a full-time artist and charging for the work and all that. And now that's what she does. And she seems to be doing great, and so, a lot of people feel like, hey, am I good enough to charge for this? Right. And I've been a professional in different genres. And I charge for my stuff, right? If a company calls me up, hey, John, can you come do a video for us? I'm going to charge them, right? Hey, John, we want you to do a radio show. We want you to do a podcast. I'm going to charge you. I've been a professional. So let me just focus on that, because it's still, I think, very applicable for so many different things. So let's just talk about that for a second. I've been a professional broadcast media, talent, whatever you want to call it, for, well over 20 years, right? I started, getting paid to do talk radio in a major market back in Salt Lake City. This is before I even went to law school. Okay. And so, and before then I had done some radio as well. And, and I've been called by a top person in the industry. It's my opinion and recollection, the great Jack Swanson from KGO KSFO, a quote unquote natural. And this is someone who ran a massive station in the number 4, number 5 market and has launched many a top talent, et cetera, et cetera. And I've had many, many, many years since then. Sacramento, San Francisco, Miami, major markets, obviously flipping over from radio to TV, working my way up from cable access all the way up to a national show, co-host of GameSpot TV at ZDTV. Me, Adam Sessler and Lauren Fielder were the first hosts of that show. And so I've been doing it for a long time. I've appeared on different other people's national shows, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I haven't been doing it straight for 20 plus odd years, but and obviously I'm huge, huge relatively. I've been pretty successful at YouTube, right? I was doing that full time for a while. I have over 62 million views on my videos. Not everything shows publicly, etc. And so I'm very skilled, right? I've done well in print. I've done well on radio. I've done well on TV. I've done well on YouTube and then in social media. I mean, what else do you want? It's hard to find someone. And I have, a serious master's degree from Johns Hopkins, one top program out there in communications with digital communications as a concentration, and media and public relations as another concentration. Honors in my MBA classes. I don't know that they give honors on I don't think they give honors on communications on the MA, but I had a 4.0 with an A+ in 80% of my classes, which is incredible. It's crazy high, right? So I've got all the credentials in that situation. And again, I'm not trying to focus on me. I'm using this myself as an example for you and for everybody out there to think about how to engage in these discussions and dialogues and theoretical and practical constructs when you're thinking about your own worth and how to negotiate and how to think about how to charge, etc. So stay with me on this. This isn't just a resume drop. This is important. Okay, so you would think in that situation, yeah, well, this is someone that probably should get paid for their work, right? Of course. Well, it all depends on the context. So for another example, I'm a 4-time national champion in powerlifting. Okay, cool. So, I used to train people, mostly focusing on elite and professional athletes, and I'd charge them, right? Or, when I was in Silicon Valley and I was consulting with high-tech companies, and I would charge for my consulting, right? I've got professional degrees, law degree from Berkeley, worked at Wilson Sonsini, Rich and Rosati, was in a venture fund with the former CEO of Apple, et cetera, et cetera. So you charge, that's commonsensical. But when I train my family or friends, I didn't charge them. But then they kind of like, oh, it's John. He said, because of the familiarity, it's almost like, I know this person. Should I? I don't really need them. I don't really need to pay for that. And yet, you've got someone that trained, serious pro athletes and was a 4-time national champion. Someone you for sure should pay for, right? Okay. Going back to the media situation here, to use an example again, how to think about this, and again, trying to be specific, general, not specific, but making some points. There's a lot of companies out there that know they need to do digital media, know they need to do videos. Know they know, how do I start? And they either fall in usually one of 3 camps. Camp 1, they're not really doing much of anything. And there's a lot of business out there, and they're really missing out because most of the audience is here in digital. Camp 2 is, we want to do it. We're going to engage, but we're not going to make a serious effort on it. We're not going to pay really much of anything for it. Maybe we throw a couple bucks to the, if you're in the automotive business, to the internet manager, and okay, maybe they post it. Maybe they just make the internet manager do. Maybe they just, everyone's going to do it with cell phones, and everyone can do it for free. And hey, I can do it on my phone. Okay, cool. And you're going to get what you're going to get, which is basically a result that is potentially suboptimal. Okay. Not professional. If it was professional, then, there's a huge difference. Okay. Simple as that. That doesn't mean that, user-generated content can't be effective. Doesn't mean that certain campaigns can't be effective. Doesn't mean you can't catch lightning in a bottle, etc. But it is to say that, again, you usually get what you pay for. There's not too many everyone, the life hack. Okay. Yeah. And people win the lottery too. I mean, those things can happen, but you're going to get what you pay for. As simple as that. So then, okay, you think about this. You think about what the third camp is. They do take it seriously. They are willing to spend money, and they're going to spend up for it. So, a radio, they're going to do a radio back in the day, they do radio, they do TV. They knew they had to pay for that. Why? Why? Why would you have to pay for that? Oh, because it's right. You understand you have to pay for that. You understand you have to do something of quality. You understand it's going to take some money to do it. So why would you try to do, if this is a mission critical business function, branding, communication, customer acquisition, advertising, why would you farm that out to amateurs effectively? Right? Does that make sense? If you're retail and you are counting on customers to walk through your door and buy your product, why would you farm out customer acquisition, communication, branding, marketing, advertising to amateurs? It doesn't make any sense. How does that make sense? Tell me in the comments. Maybe I'm missing something. How does that make sense? Think about that. Well, I heard from my 20 group, or, oh, well, they told me in GM school. Well, I read this article. Well, this person did it. Okay, cool. And then so in the 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 5 weeks, 2 weeks that you've done it, and you've done what? How's it worked for you? How is that, to use a Monopoly term, get out of jail free card? How's that worked for you? So let's get back to this, using myself as a little bit of an example here. So in the context of where other people in the business at major markets or the national level have paid me to do media, why should I offer those? And I have more degrees now and more experience and more things, big stations on the resume. Why should I offer those services for free? Explain that to me. Tell me how that works. If I were to ask you in your job, whatever that is, CEO, managing director at a consulting firm, a partner in a law firm, general manager of a car dealership, to go do your job for free, would you do that? Oh, sure, I do. Okay, cool. Would you do that every day? Would you do that every month? Let me put another analogy. And then is don't get caught in the guilt trips. This is, in my opinion, this is my phraseology on this. What do I mean by that? Hey, aren't you a team player? Yeah, I'm sure I'm a team player. What do you mean? Well, you should just, because it's gonna. Okay, so here's what I love. And I love this is when it's like, once again, not to be a sound, toot my own horn or whatever, but I'm literally a super genius. I went to law school at UC Berkeley, a top school. I've got a lot of experience. I would consider myself an expert negotiator. It's going to be kind of hard to, you might fool me. You might get me. That's not a good bet. That's not a good, in my opinion. That's a tough one. Because forget about that. It's not rocket science. I break everything down very simply. I do work to make money, right? That's why we all go to work, right? So if I'm a professional at X, okay, if you in a company environment, if you're asking me for a deliverable, you have to expect to pay for that deliverable. That's super, super simple. That's not a hard concept. Now, particularly if you're in a situation, maybe you're, I don't know, in a service industry where you rely more on tips or something like that. Maybe you're a commission salesperson or whatever it is, right? Don't get roped into, hey, I'm going to do all these extra things as a team player, because you're not getting paid for that. Do you get compensated for those extra things? If you do those extra things, does that lead to a compensation event for you? Pretty directly. If it does not, or you don't see the benefit of it, I would say pump the brakes, hold up, particularly if you are a professional in that and you get paid for those things. So if someone asks me, hey, John, for instance, this Toys for Tots thing, whatever like that. So I thought that was a great cause. I did that video. I did that, I did that. I don't want to go too far into it, but I believed in that. And I listed that up there, disclosed that, full disclosure. I did that video for free because I believe that. That's me saying I want to do something charitable. That's my election. That was my choice. Okay. Similarly, if someone said, hey, can you help out? Can we just, whatever, if it takes me a little bit of time, and again, this is the balance, right? And I'll say, okay, well, if it's a 1 minute deal, 5 minute deal, whatever, it's pretty easy for me to just, rip off content with really very little, if any, preparation and do a darn good job of it. I mean, look, I've got over 6,000 videos, right? So that's part of my gift and training and expertise and all that and experience. But now if you start involving significant amounts of time, it starts becoming a different situation. But I'll put another analogy to it. And I want to make a sort of like a logical syllogism, if you will, kind of, sort of, or a logical walkthrough. How about that? Maybe not a syllogism, but logical walkthrough. But I also want to make an analogy. So if someone asks you to do something that you normally would charge for, that you're a professional at, that you have, been paid for before or had a certain level of success, expertise, whatever you want to call it. If they're asking you to do that for free, and it's a significant amount of work and or extended period of time, or it's going to be a repeating thing, and they don't want to pay you directly or compensate you, why? You have to ask yourself, why? How is that fair? How does that make sense? Well, I don't think I should pay for X. That's maybe someone will respond to that. Why not? Well, I don't know. I can't measure it. I can't. If you don't think you should pay for it, why are you doing it? Well, I just think I just want to try it. Oh, okay. So is this a gamble, a dice roll? So basically you're willing to, so one of two things are happening here. Either you aren't sure and you're taking a gamble on whether something's effective or not, or could work or not, or whatever, or you feel like it is, but you can't. I mean, there's a lot of different, I don't want to speculate, but I mean, right, you walk down those logical trails there. But if you're asking, like, in other words, I can't ask Lady Gaga to sing at my little girl's birthday party for free. That doesn't work. Everyone, oh, you're crazy. Of course not, John. Cool. And so someone might say, like, I don't know, a CEO or someone might say, well, you're not Lady Gaga. Okay, cool. But guess what? You're not me. Okay. You haven't been paid on me. You haven't had a major market talk radio show, multiple over different decades. You haven't been on national TV. You don't have 60, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So let's stop with that. If you wanted to do that and have professional level quality, you're going to have to sink massive amounts of time into it and get what you get, or pay a lot of money to someone professional to do it. You have to be straight about this, right? So then you say, okay, well, then what? So that, well, aren't you a team player? So let's set up the logical walkthrough here. Step one is you normally would get paid for this, or you certainly could get paid for it, or have been paid for it, or certainly are at a professional level, however you want to define it, okay? And now you're getting pushback. We don't think we should pay for it. Cool. Why not? Well, X, Y, Z. Maybe answer one is we're not sure if we see value in this. We don't know if it's going to lead to sales, customer acquisition, branding, whatever you want to call it. So answer one would be we're not sure of the value. Great. Response, why are we doing it? Well, we want to try. Okay, cool. Let's table that for a second. We'll come back to that. Step two is we don't think you're worth it. You're good enough. We're questioning your professional credentials. Fantastic. Why don't you use someone else? Oh, well, yeah. Okay. So if everybody here that's available, you're admitting that I'm the best. Cool. You know what that means? You need to pay for it. Okay. Very simple. This is what I'm talking about. Break it down to the simple. Don't let someone or a corporation or organization put you together, right? If they're asking you to do something in a work environment or a customer or you need to be paid for it unless it is your election to do charity or there's some other reason that you think is appropriate. Hey, I'm going to show, I'm going to try something out, show them how valuable this is, but just be very careful with that. Be extremely careful in that. Like if you go to a job interview, in my opinion, do not do free consulting. That never works out. Well, I'm not saying never. Let me revise and extend that. I'm very skeptical of that working out. That's a whole nother show. And on average, how about that? And we'll talk about that more. We can drill down if someone wants to have comments. Okay. So if they're asking you to do it and you're a professional, you certainly should get paid. Number two, then it's like, well, hey, aren't you a team player? Sure. What do you mean by that? Well, we think this is valuable and this is important and that, why aren't you helping out? Cool. So is everybody else going to do the show too? No, they have to, they're busy. Okay. So they're not team players. Well, we don't want too many people involved. Do they know how to do it? No. Okay. So you're saying I've got special skills? That goes back to one. You get me? If you're the one that does, again, I can't ask a plumber to come in here and fix my sink and not pay them. You know what I'm saying? So, well, why don't you just do a favor? Okay, cool. Fantastic. I asked my friend at work, I say, or colleague, hey, can you give me a ride home? Sure, of course. Okay, cool. That's a favor. What happens if I ask them to do it every day? Every week for a month? Well, that's too much, John. Okay, right. I probably should pay them. Degrees, right? And if someone wants a free sample, why do they want a free sample? To do what? I have podcasts up, I have videos up, I have live streams up, I have, you can see what that is. So are you questioning me? No, you're asking me to do it. So you're questioning how you're going to do, or maybe what you're going to get out of it. Do you get your money back if your TV commercial doesn't work? I don't know. Maybe do you get it back from the people who made it? I mean, there's always little anecdotes, but you have to ask yourself, what are you doing? Like, I mean, if you're on a salary, if you're general manager of a store or CEO of a store, you have a salary, you walk in that day and you do, maybe you're feeling not so good, you feel sick, this and that, and then you have to go home early, or it's just not your best day or whatever. Does the board of directors, the shareholders, or the owner get to say, hey, you know what? I want your day's payback because I don't think you're as effective. Is that fair? Don't let yourself get put together, in my opinion. So let's get back to this team player concept. Okay. So, well, why do you, if you don't want to pay me, why do you want me to do it? Well, we think it could be interesting. And, so you're saying there's value to the store, or value to the team, or value to the company, or value to the organization. Fantastic. You need to pay for it. Do you see what I'm saying? You especially if you aren't sure how you're going to capture the upside. If the upside is, if the benefit is more of an organizational benefit, if you're doing something that's more requested, it all on and on and on and on. This is very obvious, particularly when you if you're in a situation where you are on a sales side or more commission based, and there's a massive opportunity cost. If I spend an hour doing this, is an hour that I'm not selling or not billing. If I'm at a law firm or consulting firm or whatever it is, I mean, so you can't do, Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So that's very, very important. And don't be afraid to stand your ground on it. Don't be guilted into doing something that just doesn't make sense. If it's not in your job description and you're not getting compensated for it, why are you doing it? You have to ask yourself that. If someone's asking you to do something in a work environment, whether it's a supervisor or whatever, you should ask yourself, why am I not getting compensated for this? And ask yourself seriously that. So you got to do some really deep reflection and deep thinking about that and be honest about it. And don't be afraid to stand up for it. Know what you're worth. Stand up for what you're worth. If you're worth X, then make sure you're getting X. And there's always this constant sort of tension between, and this kind of leads to another sort of article I saw. And I have to pull it up about like, pay raises are leading to inflation. I'm like, what? That's probably, listen, this gets a little bit more complicated. Again, I'm not alleging anything, but my gut reaction is it's inflation that's leading to pay raises. Now there's different things going on with the labor market too. And baby boomers retiring and baby people, the pandemic, the great resignation, different things like that. But ultimately, like, there is only one economy. I'm going to get that in a second, but I really want to focus on this and hit this a little bit more. I probably should have put, bullet points because there's so many things to go down here. But it's just like, look, it's if you're a professional or you're good at something and doing something in a work environment, if the company's asking you to do something, that either has to be you have to be compensated for it. You have to be paid for it. It's either part of your job description that you're already getting paid for, or if it's in addition or separate or different or distinct, then you need to get, and you're adding additional value, you need to get paid for it, which goes back to my other video about pay ranges and stuff like that. There is no way around long-term in an efficient market not paying for value or getting more than you are providing value. To be stable, there has to be an equilibrium. If I'm this valuable and I'm getting paid this much below my value, that's not sustainable. That's not stable. Conversely, if I'm only adding this value and I'm getting paid this much, that's not sustainable, right? So, there is no other way around it, right? And so it's like, and then you get into these things of like, hey, well, when am I going to get, X, Y, and Z, or when are things going to get better? When, that's in the future. So, all right, cool. And then like, hey, now you want something from me. Well, okay, cool. You want to pay for it? Well, how do I know, how do we know it works and stuff like that? We're going to test it out so you want immediate results now, but you don't want to pay. That's interesting. But then my stuff is in the future, but your stuff is now, but you don't want to, maybe I'll get something now, but you want stuff right now. You won't want to pay for it. So no, that doesn't make any sense, right? You have to know what you're worth. So how do you know what you're worth? Cool. What do you usually get paid? What do others get paid? What does this mostly mean? What are the comps, right? So if someone wanted X, Y, and Z, and then they'll say, well, I don't think we should pay for X, then why are you doing it? Well, okay, no, that's not acceptable. If you're doing it on company time, or you're asking me to do it for the benefit of the company, you need to pay for it. You need to pay for me, period. Okay. Or you're not respecting me, in my opinion, potentially, right? You don't think I'm good enough. You don't believe my professional credentials. You think you can do it better. Fantastic. Go for it. It's a free country. How about it? Good luck. Maybe you'll kill it. And now, good on you. That's awesome. But in the meanwhile, while you're killing it, doing what I have worked over 20 years plus to do, right? I can go actually use my time to go make myself money for myself and my family, right? So get paid what you're worth. Stand up for yourself. If you have a question, if it feels kind of like, listen to that. Do not get put together. make sure if someone's asking you to do something, make sure you're getting paid for it. Don't try to do 2, 3, 4 jobs in one and only get paid for one job. No, that doesn't work. That's not how it's going to go. Well, that for me, and hopefully not for you. Again, I'm not giving you any advice, but you need to be smart, right? And so, in my opinion, barring some significant exceptions that you have to lay out, I would have a hard time seeing how it is appropriate, in my opinion, for someone in a company setting to be asking you, if you're a professional, to do something on a an extended period, if not even in any period, to do something without paying you for it. That doesn't make sense. The entire point to work is to get paid for your work and getting paid fair value, getting paid what you're worth. So make sure, well, we do, everyone else, your title is this and everyone else doing that. So cool. So how come everyone else can't do that? Why aren't you asking everyone else to do that? Why can't they do that? Have they been paid for it before? No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm a barista at Starbucks, but I'm still a 4-time national champion. You don't, as the manager of the Starbucks, get to tell me, hey, you need to train the staff, right? And how to exercise, how to do that. And let's say for that stuff, I would charge, and I'm just making up a number right now. This is just for the purposes of the show. I would charge $300 an hour to train someone and do my whole thing on that, because I'm a 4-time national champion, right? I've trained professional athletes. But as a barista at Starbucks, I'm getting, I don't know, $20 an hour or something like that, plus tips. I have no idea how much they may make, but it's not $300 an hour, right? Well, that's fine. We'll give you your hourly. Like, no, I get this much for that training, and you're trying to pay me this much. That's not appropriate. Just because I'm a 4-time, you don't get to take advantage of that. I'm a 4-time national champion. I'm here to do a barista job. If I do my barista job, I'll do my barista job or whatever it is, right? Don't get put together. Know what you're worth. Know what you want to do, and that's what it is. So it's very, so let me put it another way. If your job title is X and you're doing X, then just do X. If you're great at X, let's say you're one of the best, if not the best at X, then that's what it is, whatever it is. Painter, architect, lawyer, engineer, anything like that. Cool. But then, like, if there's these other things that you're a professional at that the company doesn't want to pay for, then why don't they want to pay for it? And I am be hard pressed to see significant situations where it's not appropriate to pay someone for their professional expertise if you're asking them to do that in a company setting, on company time, for company benefit, etc. Well, that's how we were doing, and that's what we thought that's what you were going to do. So cool. So you knew from the jump that I had this other professional, repertoire that you were going to pay for. Because if that was planned out, then that's obviously part of the package, or there's 2 separate packages, or there's this normal package plus this, or however you want to spin it. So again, I'm trying to keep things general, not trying to keep things specific, not alleging any facts, not casting any aspersions, not talking about anything specific or any specific situation or anything like that. This is all for entertainment purposes, and for example, only for the purpose of this show, entertainment-wise. So yeah, that's my sort of take on it. Would love to see what you think about that. And there's a lot more that you could drill into that. But understand what that is. So bottom line is this. If you want to do out of your own, if you volunteer to do certain things that could be beneficial, or just whatever, you want to do something on your own, volition, that's fine. If you're being asked to do something, or you are a professional, or there's a value there to the company, and you can provide value and you're professional, or just you're adding value and you're just good at something or whatever. You could be an amateur, that's fine, but you could add value, you could do a good job, then you should get paid. Anytime you're adding value, particularly in an economic sense, a working sense, a corporate sense, you should be, and you're working, you're putting time in, you should be paid for that. Like, again, another example, if you, I don't know. I mean, there's, I could probably train a dog. I'm not a professional dog trainer. If I want a professional dog trainer, I would hire them. Where you have to hire them. It's like just because anyone can do something doesn't mean they should, that you shouldn't get paid for doing something if you've got expertise. Right? So anyone can actually, I can go and draw, I can go paint. I have the capability to paint, but you would not ever mistake me for someone that's a professional painter. That doesn't mean a professional painter shouldn't get paid for painting, particularly if I'm asking them to paint, because guess what? They're a professional painter and they're way better than me. And then, and here's the other thing. If a leader, a VP, an executive, a CEO, a director asks you to do something and they're not sure if it's valuable, but they're doing it and they're spending lots of time doing it, then you have to ask yourself, from a company's perspective, why would an elite leader be spending tons of time doing something if it's not valuable for the company, or we're not sure if it's valuable for the company, or we don't have the metrics and the views and stuff that show that it's valuable for the company, and we can't lead it to a sale. So it's either valuable or it's not. If we think it could be, okay, cool. So you think it could be valuable, which means you got to pay for it. It all goes right back to the same thing. There is no logical escape. Either, first of all, there's the professionals that get paid for do X. If you ask a professional who does X to do X, you should expect to pay for it. Period. End of story. Barring them doing charity work, volunteering, doing your favor, etc. But those are limited in scope, in my opinion, right? So the professionals should get paid. Let's put that aside. Second is, if you think there's value or hope there's value or are trying to do something of value, that's probably the vast majority of the percentages of why a company would try to do something, then you need to pay for that. If you do not think it's valuable, or you question, or if it's less likely than more likely, right? Preponderance of the evidence, if you will, that it's not valuable, why are you doing it? Particularly if you're a leader, why are you doing it? Why are you spending your time doing that? Why are you spending extensive time doing that? That's craziness. That doesn't make, how does that make sense? How could that possibly pencil out? So it's either something that's valuable that may not yield immediate benefits, that might be something you need to invest in and do a campaign or whatever it is. And it's going to take time, but you have to, if you're going to do it right, you need to invest in it and pay for it. Or it's something that is of dubious value. And then why would you as a leader invest significant time into that instead of doing your core job or jobs, functions that directly lead to company benefit? It's inescapable. It's inescapable. So if a top leader is trying to do what you do, but they don't want to pay you to do what you do, even though you're a professional, there's a lot of questions that get raised on that, in my opinion. Not just one. Right? So anyway, I would say that's how you approach it. So if someone's asking you to do something in a company setting, and it's something that you're a professional at, and or takes a significant amount of work and or skill and a significant amount of time, or maybe special tools, equipment, training, certifications, licensing, all that type of stuff, any of that, in my opinion, any or all of that, then I would think that you should get paid for it in most cases, barring some significant excuse. If they're not willing to pay for it, or they're pushing back, or maybe, hey, why aren't you a team player? Then you have to start asking questions, a lot of questions. That's my take on it. Listen, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you think. Again, it's all my personal opinion, not talking about anything specific. This is generalized, just, hypotheticals for the purpose of entertainment. You tell me what you think about that. Love to hear your comments. Give me the comments below on YouTube. Also checked out Facebook and LinkedIn. And, listen, I understand both sides, right? I understand both sides. I have no problem. And I just want to clarify, I have no problem helping people out, doing favors, trying things, testing things, going above and beyond, being a team player, all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, if I'm a certain level, if let's say all in with depends, and it depends what you're talking about, right? I mean, it really depends on the job function. But if I'm like, let's just call, let's just say I'm $1 million talent, $500,000 talent, whatever it is, then I expect to get that, right? If I'm not getting that, then I'm in the wrong industry or wrong company. No, this is the best place. It's just no one else can do this. You've got it so good here. Okay, cool. Then prove it by paying me. Okay, it's like it all goes back to the same thing, right? If I cannot provide enough value here, then we have to, we all have to examine that, right? That's just common sense. If you're asking me to do a bunch of things and you feel like it's valuable enough to ask me, who's a professional, to do stuff or spend your time, if you're an elite leader, then obviously it's valuable, or it's not valuable, or you don't know, and now you're gambling. You want to gamble with your time, that's one thing. Now, the company may feel about it differently if you keep doing that extended period and other metrics or KPIs aren't met, but that's on you. If you're asking me to do it and jeopardize my other KPIs in time and time away from the office, you and family and stuff, then you got to pay me. If you're not, then why? And so anyway, I hope that gives you some framework. When you break things down in a simple aspect, it makes a lot more sense, right? And so that's one part of why I do my Ask a Super Genius, video series and stuff. And I do them from time to time, trying to make the complex into something very simple. But I think that people cannot be afraid to step up. Again, there's give and take. Someone's working with you, you work with them. There's always different exceptions. It's always good to do charity. It's always good to do favors, but make sure that a favor, if you do that, you understand what you're doing, and the favor doesn't become an extended favor. And make sure that other people don't diminish your value or diminish your professional abilities or, all the above. If you went and spent $100,000, I'm just throwing out a number, on a professional degree to do something, or you spent 20 years and you got paid from the people. I mean, what is that worth? It's not just what you can do now or the time you spent now or it's like that old saying, like, yeah, it took me 20 years to be able to do this in 30 minutes or whatever it is, right? Make sure you're getting paid what you're worth. Make sure your value is being respected. That's no different than turning around and selling, whatever that executive or leader, whatever they do, maybe they take some this, but they're getting paid this much. Why? Because you put the time in. People have to get what they are worth. Value, compensation has to equal value. End of story. That's it. And some people, and also there's different models. Some people get paid for success on a commission. Some people get paid for time. Some people get paid for both. But you can't ask someone. It's a hard sell, right? Quote unquote, to be able to ask someone in a professional setting to invest significant amounts of time, particularly if they are professional, and or their opportunity cost is very high because maybe the top, whatever in their position, and not pay them. It just doesn't. How does that pencil out? Love to see your thoughts about that. I hope I did a good job of kind of working through that a little bit to give you some tools of when you're in a negotiation or when you're being asked to do something, or how you should look at something, or how you should value yourself, or how you kind of allocate your time and work. And you have to think about that. So, all right. Hope that helps. I'm John D. Villarreal. I'm the Super Genius. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful night. Please repost this on your social media websites. Also, please, if this helped you in any way and you liked it, please rate this video up. Give me a thumbs up and a like. Also, please subscribe and hit the notification buttons. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night. I look forward to speaking with you soon. I'm John D. Villarreal. I'll see you next time.